Well, welcome to the 104th Farm Show. I'm Representative Jesse Topper from the 78th District, and I'm joined by Secretary of Agriculture, Russell Redding. Mr. Secretary, good to see you.
Great to see you.
As always. So, 104th installment of the Farm Show. Tell us what new is going on this year.
I'll tell you, it's always an amazing show, and you get sort of the foundational pieces of livestock shows, which we just had a chance to witness. But we've got some new things. We've got a waterfowl exhibit this year. You know, we took a lot of heat last year for taking the duck slide away, right?
Right.
People love the ducks, but we brought them back and put them in a more natural habitat over in the poultry area. We have a hemp exhibit this year that's pretty interesting, you know, a couple of different uses, and try to educate a little bit about what hemp is and what you can do with it. There's a quilt exhibit with all of the granges across Pennsylvania. It's amazing. And you know, you get all good foods, new foods, good stuff.
I'm anxious to sample that here in a little bit.
Yeah.
You mentioned education, so this is truly one of the great things I've always thought about the farm show is you see a lot of people who this is their only exposure to agriculture in this state, or maybe their first exposure to agriculture. How do you see this as an educational tool for Pennsylvania?
I think it is so critical. We can talk all day, you know, about the benefits of agriculture, the importance of it, but people have to sort of touch it and taste it and feel it, right? You can all use all five senses here at the Farm Show, which is the other benefit of it. But it's so critical just to sort of make an introduction. People have no idea, right, what it takes to produce food and fiber, and that's not a criticism. It just, I think we made it easy. And here at the Farm Show, you sort of get a chance to introduce to both the people who do that, how do we do it, teach about, you know, the supply chain that's involved in it, and it's so critical to have that moment to sort of touch agriculture here during 8 days.
You know, we've had this past year in the legislature, we've talked a lot about agriculture. We've talked about the PA Farm Bill. I know you have a hearing later on as well about how things are going. Could you kind of describe what you think our number one legislative accomplishment has been in terms of helping our farmers here in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, you've hit the Farm Bill. You know, it's a compilation of 16 different bills, but I think, you know, tucked inside of that is $23 million. Right, and we spend time talking about conservation and marketing and promoting Pennsylvania agriculture, and you know, the sciences and protecting you know, our livestock industry, and you know, investing in dairy. Each one of those things I've mentioned are now inside of the Farm Bill. So I really appreciate your support of both the bill and the, you know, support it gives to rural communities and agriculture, because what we can do, we can now do business plans. Right, I say it all the time. If you don't have a plan, right? Hope is good, but hope's not a plan, and you've got to really focus in on the plan. So we can do that now. We can touch the schools through education, both in the communities, but also in rural and urban areas. So really critical.
Let's talk about dairy. Big issue back in the 78th district. I know it's a big issue across Pennsylvania. What is our outlook for the dairy farmer today versus last year? Much of a difference? You see some improvement?
Yeah, I do, and give you a very different answer today than I did a year ago. I now have, you know, some hope. You know, last year we were still in sort of that downward sort of press, and that was 2.5 years, 3 years for some of the producers that were negative margins, and you can't stay there long, right? So what we saw in 2019 was that uptick. We're now in January 2020. Prices are pretty good where we are. The forecast looks pretty good as well. We've made a lot of investments the last year, but a lot of that is sort of the macro trade discussions that we have, and the importance of, you know, opening up China and the USMCA, the new NAFTA agreement. But it's also about consumers sort of reconnecting with dairy. So we're in a good place. I'm not dismissing for a moment that there's still, when you're making up for negative margins, that drag on producers, and I'll hear that all the time, but at least the forecast looks good.
Right, we're seeing better. And last thing on the forecast, kind of on the future, we've talked about connecting education to agriculture, and just kind of where are we on that from a state public policy level, working with our universities, talking about jobs in agriculture moving forward?
It's a critical part of the work we're doing. You know, we have two things. The legislature 2 years ago created the Commission on Agriculture Education Excellence. I think it was one of those really smart things that was done, just to bring the Department of Education together with agriculture, bring the universities together with the school administrators to talk about both ag science programs in a formal way, but also to make sure we talk about the lowercase a and e, which so we can get to the elementary school as well to talk about education and ag jobs. You'll see throughout the complex a focus on the workforce. We're a couple of banners to our left and right that begin to highlight the different jobs. You'll see banners hanging around the complex. We think this is also important to sort of raise awareness. When we say agriculture, what does that really mean, right? What are those jobs? It's a veterinarian, and a conservationist, and food scientist. So education is key, putting a focus on those jobs here. We need 75,000 new people to enter agriculture over the next 10 years. So what we do here in the 8 days is really critical.
Yeah, and it's a different field now, more high tech.
Technology's changing every job.
Technology's changing, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mr. Secretary, always a pleasure.
Pleasure's
Thank you.
mine. Thank you.
All right.
Great to see you. Thank you.